Most people make progress very slowly, despite having the same goals. I've always wanted the physique, girls, and money like everyone else. I've wanted the skills of different hobbies, like being able to do backflips and create art masterpieces. But despite that, I distract myself with smaller, more comfortable pleasures. The goals themselves aren't that hard to achieve, but I just can't keep myself accountable. And this has caused a lot of insecurity for both me and a bunch of other people. I've had experiences where my family asks, "What are your plans for life?" And I just get reminded of all the projects that I set aside. You used to look fit in the mirror and you see all the weight that you've gained. You meet up with friends and see how far ahead they are in life, and you just can't help but feel behind. Without self-accountability, every part of your life starts to decay. We need a system. There are 3 steps to making a proper accountability system. Let's get into it. Setting the goal. What are you even trying to achieve? It's funny to think that you will achieve an outcome without really understanding what you're chasing. If you don't know what you're trying to chase, it's very hard to do the right tasks that will lead you there. Also, if you don't know why you're chasing it, it becomes very hard to stay motivated. In the self-improvement community, most people say that you have to have some sort of life purpose or, something super meaningful to keep you motivated. But not all goals have something like that. It's also not bad at all to chase things that interest you, right? That's like 90% of art. What I found important to remember when chasing a goal is to just have a reason, and just remembering the reason for why you started it. Once you have a goal, start breaking it down into tasks that make progress towards a goal, right? After doing this for the first time, you realize that this is not the first and last time that you have to do this. What do I need to be able to do to achieve this goal? What are the general components of this goal? If you're completely new and just saw some kind of dude with the outcome that you want, this is a good time to start doing research while asking these questions. If you want to draw, then maybe you'll learn that you need to be able to draw clean lines, draw heads, bodies, and be able to color, right? That's not the full spectrum of things you need to learn, but these are sections of art, right? So what do you need to do to get clean lines, draw people, and color? You gotta learn all the sub-skills underneath those, such as simple shorter lines, different parts of the face, and the techniques of choosing and applying color. Yes, this can get very overwhelming quickly, but it's not like you have to handle them all at once. This is sort of like a roadmap for what you can do to get closer to your goal. One big mistake that I see, especially with artists, is that they expect themselves to be able to do higher level tasks right at the start. Okay, it's like saying you want to start building your body for the first time and then giving up because you can't pick up the 40-pound dumbbell. The sub skills underneath lifting the 40-pound dumbbell are the weights underneath it, right? 25, 10, 5 pounds even. There's no shame with where your starting point is. The only people that are going to judge you for where you're starting are the people who are insecure about their progress and people who don't understand the craft. Because there's a lot that you have to get familiar with, right? And it's not like you can just figure out everything by just breaking them down. This is something that you'll do over and over again as you progress. So now, instead of your roadmap being just exercise to get a better body, it's more like better body comes from a routine, and the routine comes from 7 different exercises that you need to do, 7 different muscle groups that you need to target. And you can break down those 7 muscle groups into 10 different exercises each. But you'll only learn that once you get the basic understanding of what you're doing and then trying to progress, right? Yes, people can get stuck in this tutorial phase, but I think it's necessary for being able to take that first step, right? Most people don't go chasing a goal that they don't even believe they can achieve. So knowing what you want, breaking down the tasks, and learning more about it before taking the first step and then progressing is what allows you to start this iteration process, learning and progressing. But now you have to start taking action. And we'll do this through an accountability contract. This is how you start taking action consistently. After making a goal, most people tend to forget them and discard them after a little bit of discomfort. So the first thing that I always do is have my goals and breakdowns of them somewhere I can access them easily. What I've done in the past is having a notebook and just setting it on my desk and just having it in front of me. Since I'm doing this accountability challenge on my server, I've written down my goals on my computer. But now you need a plan to actually get yourself to do it. And the best way that I found was using a daily schedule. Emphasis on daily. If I miss one day, then I'm more likely to miss other days or just give up entirely, right? That's why weekly stuff hasn't worked for me, like videos. I need to be working on something daily so I don't get scared of the hard work that it takes. I have another video if you want to learn about that. Within this daily schedule, it doesn't need to be complicated, but I recommend having a start time and an end time, right? The starting time keeps you accountable so you don't procrastinate until the end of the day. And then the ending time prevents you from giving up too early, especially when enforced by teachers or job managers. Set schedules can create a good amount of pressure. Not the stress kind of pressure, but the pressure to get you going, like getting the class on time or, staying until the class ends. With that said, if you do use it, I recommend that you take some pressure off yourself by making the task that you're doing non-outcome related, meaning you'll draw for a set amount of time rather than having a specific outcome that you want. So instead of getting a full drawing complete in 2 hours, I find it better to just have 2 hours of drawing time. So it doesn't matter if you're like sitting there doing nothing or you're actually drawing, but you're not doing anything else, right? Do this unless you want the adrenaline rush that you get by setting an outcome as the goal. I did this for posting videos and it was so stressful, but I managed to do it for 7 days somehow. But yes, it's stressful. Just try to stick with inputs rather than outputs. But whatever you choose, the point of setting the start times and end times remains the same. It does this by putting pressure on you whenever you procrastinate, right? Because when you procrastinate, you don't completely forget your responsibilities. They just hide in the back of your mind every so often. If you don't have a deadline, then it just sits back there, does nothing. But once you set that deadline, once you have that project, when you have that assignment due in like 3 days, you start getting reminded more and more, and the pressure continues to build up. This is called anxiety cost. The price of not dealing with something slowly starts to put pressure on your mind. Okay, that's why deadlines in school were so effective. As long as the action of turning in your homework meant something to you, then it puts pressure on you. The starting time works the same, right? When you know that you should be practicing your skill at like 12 p.m., but you're doing something else, you'll start thinking about it more and more as you're wasting the 2 hours that you should be practicing your skill, right? Now there's a third thing that I want to add to this contract. It comes from the idea that the times that I change the least are when I don't know what to change. Imagine you bought a coaching program, but the coach never taught you anything. You just did all the work, but you didn't know if you're doing it right or wrong. And this could be fixed with reflection and reflecting. Okay, when you reflect on what you did for the day, you start to pay attention to every variable that leads to your goals. Your thoughts, how you felt, your struggles, your wins. Paying attention to your routine and what happens during it is literally specialized feedback just for your situation, right? It'd honestly be like a waste to ignore it. Write out how each part of your routine went. Notice what went well, what didn't, and honestly, what you feel good about. All the good stuff that happened before adding all the changes that you want to do or the stuff that didn't go so well. All right, now we get into enforcing the contract. This is where it gets fun. How do you get yourself to follow the deadlines? There's a simple rule to why we take action, and it's that we take action when the pain of not taking action is greater than the pain of taking action, right? For students that procrastinate, when a project is due in 3 weeks, there's no pressure on you, there's no punishment, nobody says anything. The pain of not taking action is literally non-existent. However, when it's due in like a few days, and your parents are talking about it and your friends are complaining about it, and you start to think about, the pain of potentially turning your project in late, grade going down, your parents yelling at you, all these thoughts popping up in your head, right? The pain of not taking action starts to increase. And eventually you'll get to a point where it's just better to do the assignment or project just to get it out of your mind. Or you might say, that didn't happen to me in school, right? While that does happen for people when it comes to school, it doesn't work for everyone. And that's why it's important to find what counts as a punishment for you. You didn't have to care about grades, but there is probably something that you do care about. You just gotta find that insecurity. It could be losing money, it could be social validation, it could be a collection that you have, or just anything that's important to you. I personally tried out money, so when I wanted to post YouTube videos for 30 days straight, I set the punishment as $50, right? That was half my bank account at the time. But I learned that I actually like giving away money, especially because it was to my friend as like a gift. So it didn't really work as a punishment. Maybe if you're giving enough money, like near y'all, a productivity expert who I believe puts $100,000 at stake. So maybe it depends on how much you put out. What I like to do instead is social pressure. Getting myself to do something so I don't look stupid not doing it, right? The strat for this is figuring out what I'm doing, making reasonable promises to myself, and then showing these promises and goals to people. If you have a friend that you can do this to, this is perfect. But if you want to hold yourself accountable this way with social pressure, which is what I know, but don't have a partner, then you can try using social media. In 2020, I really disliked my life and I wanted to change. But I, at the time, struggled with staying consistent with anything. So I joined this challenge called Winter Arc 90. And there we were posting shorts about our progress for 90 days straight. Most of them are privated, so you can't watch them. But I ended up doing really well and posting all my 90 shorts. I think the most important thing for this section is that if you do find some form of punishment that affects you, you need to be able to do it multiple times. And that's why social media or having a friend is really helpful. Because if you're like me and struggle with consistency, you're most likely gonna fail at least once, right? And most people just like give up and fail so they can stop doing this contract, which is what happened to me. So what I've changed was allowing myself to fail a day and take the punishment, but having to do it the next day or else I'll receive the punishment again. So to sum it up, you've broken down your goal to understand what you're chasing, why you're chasing it, and what to do to make progress. Next, you've created a contract with set expectations surrounding start times, ending times, and how much work you want to get done. And lastly, you found an insecurity about yourself that you can use over and over again to keep yourself on track. And now you can finally start the contract. I like to have a set date where I'll start, especially if it's like a challenge, because I have to like mentally prepare to do it. But the earlier you start, the faster you progress. If you want a place to get accountability but don't want to post on social media, I have a section in my Discord server just for keeping promises to yourself and showing it to others. If you found this helpful yourself, then consider helping someone else by sharing this video with them. But besides that, I thank you for watching this video to the end and take care.